We are tonight's entertainment.
You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Excellent!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Movie Mania podcast, where we talk films past, present, and future. I'm Sherman Trey White of Podcast Mania, and joining me is the man, the myth, the legend. He's gonna podcast the no, wait, can't say that. Bandit Incorporated.
What? Hello. Welcome, everyone. All around about 350-ish of you, because that's how many downloads we're getting at the moment. We're on the way. Now
we're getting there.
And just before we get started, because I've got something to say that I forgot to say in the last couple of episodes, is I want to give a big thank you to the man behind our amazing podcast artwork.
Oh,
that you'll see. If you click on your phone, you see the thing of me and Trey running from an explosion, because cool guys don't look at explosions, but neither do they run away from them.
No. Cool guys don't look at explosions, but they do look terrified of them. So
yeah, well, you do have a very manic look on your face in that picture.
I love it. I love the look. It's like the look of I'm gonna get you. Like, just you wait. I love it.
I sort of interpreted it as the look of psychopathic glee, that you're just like, yeah, like maybe the explosion killed all your enemies behind you or something. I'm just running. But Milan Jeftik, my good old friend Milan Jeftik, the Russian comic book geek, he's the one who drew that artwork for us. And I was going to pay him, but he said, no, just give me a shout out on the podcast. And then I forgot for a couple of episodes.
Yeah. Well, you saved
so thank you,
art.
Milan.
We're incredibly grateful, Milan. Thank you. It was
yes. And check him out, the Russian comic book geek on YouTube.
Yeah, he does great work. He's working with the Sunday movies. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think he was Green Arrow. He was Green Arrow on one of his animated comic things.
It was
does a
Justice
great
League Rock of Ages, I think, was the motion comic. Yeah. And the Green Arrow in that is actually Mr. Sunday Movies.
Yes.
Plus Mr. Sunday did sorry, I keep interrupting.
No, you're good.
Mr. Sunday did a video on Milan's channel too.
Oh, that's cool. And we all know Mr. Sunday's American accent is way better than Sam Worthington's. So that's good to know.
You're talking about Everest? Because I haven't seen it.
Oh.
That was your end for that week. You saw that.
Yes, that's right. Well, he's good in that, but he gets to keep his regular accent. Righto. Do you want to get into the news then?
Yes, the movie news.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. Cannonball!
Okay, for starters, Justice League animated series. It may be coming back. We got Paul Dini possibly working on it, who was a big creator of the, I believe he did the Batman animated series. I think he did Superman. He also did Justice League and
are they
Justice League Unlimited.
Justice League, or are they?
I have no idea. I read the headline. I'm like, let me write that down. So How would you like to see the revival of a Justice League series?
I would love to see that. Do you know if they're getting like the classic voice actors back, or are they recasting everyone?
Not. Or? I hope they can recast, because that way we can get a new voice kind of for, maybe get Roger Craig Smith, or maybe not even that. I'd like to see, because for Batman, for example, one of my big problems with the Arkham Origins video game is that you feel the absence of Kevin Conroy, but only because it's someone trying to do a Kevin Conroy impersonation. Yeah, I think that's why I like Jason O'Mara in the animated movies, because he's doing something else with that. He's doing more of a Christian Bale kind of thing, where he talks more like this, and I like that better than someone trying to be Kevin Conroy. I can't do Kevin Conroy, but that's
It's amazing because people don't typically know the names of voice actors unless it's like Mark Hamill as the Joker, because we all know him because he's Luke Skywalker. But everybody knows.
How lucky? Speaking of which, how lucky is Mark Hamill to play Luke Skywalker, get in a car accident, have his face burned off, gets to be Luke Skywalker 2 more times, then gets to be the Joker for 10 years, then gets to be him in video games, and then coming back in Star Wars. Luke's. Sorry, keep going.
Well. Yeah, because I think he, after Star Wars, of course, every day, people are like, hey, Luke Skywalker. And he's like, again, really? That must get so annoying. So maybe he took the Joker role because he won't get people going, hey, Joker.
Well, if you go back and watch Empire Strikes Back, taking it back to Star Wars, whenever he finds out that Vader's his father, and he goes no, and you listen carefully, you can hear like the start of a Joker voice in his scream, and you can hear the Joker. Yeah, I'm telling you, I go back and watch it, and it's like he gets into that kind of raspy Mark Hamill Joker voice that I caught it.
I'm replaying that No in my head now because I've seen that movie so many times. I can literally just replay it in my head.
Yeah. No, that's impossible. No. You know it to be true. Yeah. Oh boy. You know what sucks though? Jedi, but we're gonna get to that later.
The middle of it sucks. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. That whole 2 hours is just okay. Pacific Rim 2.
This was sad news, wasn't it?
It officially has no release date. It's been replaced by Pitch Perfect 3. Yes, that is right. We are going to be getting 2 Pitch Perfect films before we get Pacific
It has been
Rim
sunk
2.
like a kaiju uppercut.
Yes.
That makes no sense at all, does it?
Like that sword that they should have used the entire movie but didn't.
Actually,
yes.
It's really surprising that Pacific Rim 2 didn't do much better overseas, especially in Asia. It should have done really well in Asia.
Well,
it's like it was, perfectly crafted to make $1 bazillion over there, but it didn't make enough.
Well, this adds to my point of originality in filmmaking, because Pacific Rim, granted, while it wasn't the most original story, it was an original property, and no one went and saw it. It made $100 million here, and this was marketed as a $1 billion movie, and no one went and saw it. Because it wasn't that very good, with the exception of the scene where the robot grabs the boat and smacks the monster upside the head. People stood and cheered, and I cheered with them when that happened on screen.
Yeah.
But
see, I still don't understand why more people didn't see it. I mean, it was dumb, but it was like, hang on, I'm gonna sneeze.
God bless you.
It went away.
Ha!
Damn it! Now there's that phantom sneeze just waiting to come out at any moment.
You're welcome. You're
Damn
welcome.
you, phantom sneeze!
No, but Pacific Rim, I don't think it was marketed in a way it was. Pacific Rim was marketed as this action movie with robots versus aliens, and you get in there and it's robots versus aliens, but it has that Guillermo del Toro style to it that I don't think a lot of audiences are used to. That's why Hellboy didn't make any money.
Really?
Pan's Labyrinth didn't make a lot of money. I don't think people are accustomed to his style of filmmaking, the general audience wise. I think that might be why it failed.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it had that dumbness to it, but it was sort of like Jurassic World dumb.
I think
that kind of dumbness seems to work overseas usually.
Yeah, but also
Asian
Jurassic World was a built-in property. So are the Fast and Furious movies, which also grossed a lot of money over there in Asia. In Terminator also a built-in property.
But see, that's the thing. It ticks that box: multicultural audience, giant robots, giant monsters. They're really popular in Asia.
Yeah.
I don't know why it didn't make more money there.
I think it was just the amalgam of poor marketing and a different kind of movie that people weren't expecting, because it's a dumb action movie, but at the same time, it tries to be a smart action movie with the whole connected brain thing and the weird Ron Perlman role. And look, I don't like the movie, but then again, I'm not a big fan of movies that are stupid.
I remember when it came out, I was really harsh on it. Because of, all the lapses in logic. And why didn't they use the sword and all that? But I remember then after Godzilla came out, I was like, maybe I was a bit too hard on Pacific Rim, because at least that was entertaining.
Hey, you ease up. That was a good character study. You ease up now.
Yeah, it was. It's just a shame it was called Godzilla, because he wasn't in it.
Listen, Godzilla Godzilla was in that movie. Okay? All right?
Technically, yeah.
Now listen. Technically, okay, all right, okay.
Just all like Darth Vader was technically in the prequels.
Oh, how dare you? How dare you?
How dare you at me? How dare you?
I brought you eggs, and you compare Godzilla to the prequels. What is wrong with you? Go sit in your corner. Make you watch Terminator Genesis again. No, I figured. We might as well talk about why Pitch Perfect is somehow a bigger property than Pacific Rim, which is a weird age we're living in where Pitch Perfect can be a bigger property than Pacific Rim.
Hey, never underestimate the power of the teeny boppers.
Yeah. Oh my God, I hate that. I hate that.
See, there should have been more singing in Pacific Rim. That's the problem.
Have you seen the first Pitch Perfect?
No.
It's terrible. Like it's everything that I see when I'm at high school. It's like, how do I put this? It's like Superbad meets Glee, but it took the most annoying parts of both movies and put them in one thing. So we have the pretentious people who think they can sing and they're all attractive and it's all cliche, and there's that one fat person that's actually kind of still attractive. At least they're not ugly. And then you take the weird kind of gross out humor of Superbad that doesn't really work, and you're like, why is someone with pepperoni nipples funny? I don't know. Why is someone doing vomit angels funny? I don't know. Why is all right, moving on, because I don't feel like ranting about Pitch Perfect anymore. It's the Frozen of live action movies. Okay, so tell me, Bandit, if I were to ask you which one are you looking more forward to, Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2 or The Force Awakens, you would say The Force Awakens.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Yes. Well, according to a certain... My voice cracked. Well, according to a certain poll, The Force Awakens is not the most anticipated movie of the year so far.
Wait a minute, who says that? Who says that? That's ridiculous.
That's what I'm trying to get at here. So that raises a question. How... Will The Force Awakens make more money than Mockingjay Part 2?
Yes.
That's my question. You think
Absolutely it will. Of course it will. It'll probably make like $1 billion. It's Star Wars.
I mean, it's going to make $1 billion. My question is it going to hit $2 billion? Because that's a tough margin to crack. Only two movies have ever made $2 billion. It's yeah. So it's and they're both by James Cameron. So
but I don't think Hunger Games is going to make $1 billion though.
I don't. I think Hunger Games is definitely going to crack $1 billion.
Really?
Yeah, because like Catching Fire,
maybe 700. I thought.
Well,
it's
Catching
lost
Fire,
a lot of steam.
I don't want to say it's lost a lot of steam.
You don't think so?
I just think that this is a franchise that has so many built-in fangirls and fan bases that I think because think about it, all the lovers of this franchise loved the Mockingjay Part 1, even though it's a crappy movie. We went on about that 2 weeks ago. And where my train of thought? Oh, and Catching Fire made almost like $900 million. So, you have the conclusion to this franchise, and you have every teenage girl is going to want to go. It comes out at Thanksgiving. I think this has a shot of maybe not outgrossing Star Wars, but it's definitely going to hit $1 billion. That's for sure.
Sure, yeah, the Pitch Perfect crowd will go see Mockingjay, but they'll also see Star Wars, and Star Wars will attract everybody else, multi-generations, not just the teeny boppers.
I don't think the teeny boppers. I like that.
This sounds like...
I call them.
Sorry, go on.
No, I call them the Yosh generation, teeny boppers, the teenage girls. I call them the Yosh generation. Yosh. They're the ones that always go Yas, bae, Yas. That's a popular thing here. I don't know how it is in Australia.
Never heard of it before.
Yeah, Bay stands for before anyone else. It's all over the internet, and it's so annoying. It's on T-shirts and humanity.
Keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, we are the future nuclear scientists, ladies and gentlemen. So I think, at least from what I've seen around me, a lot of that generation of that is very much big demographic that are going to the movies. They're the ones that are gonna go see Mockingjay 3-4 times. They're not going to be the ones to go into Star Wars because they hear Star Wars and they think
everyone likes Star Wars.
I don't think you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised.
Yeah, but the people who don't like Star Wars don't see movies anyway, so they don't really count.
Yeah. As someone,
I'm sorry. It's just this title sounds like a clickbait title that maybe someone on a website that was writing an article wanted to make sure people read it, so just came up with a controversial title to get people to click on it. Sort of like the whole feminazi article that was written about Mad Max Fury Road that got that website a ton of attention, and that even Nostalgia Critic covered in his review. It's I think This sounds like that, because just even the suggestion that
review,
it could make
I
more
like
money
this.
than Force Awakens is ridiculous. Ridiculous. Absurd.
I sent you another picture. That's going to be our next story. If you want to check that out real quick.
Okay.
I feel like, as someone who spends at least one day a week walking around with a Chewbacca shirt in which he's holding a skateboard that has the Rebel insignia on it, and at least 3 times a day goes, because he can do a Chewbacca impersonation. I think from being both verbally told and receiving nasty looks, a lot of my generation is not like super stoked for Star Wars. At least from what I've been around as. A lot more people are talking about movies like Fast and Oh, Jesus Christ!
Sorry.
That scared the daylights out of me.
The phantom sneeze finally came.
We're gonna get to sudden explosions when we get to the Martian, but Jesus. I mean...
Apologies to headphone users. You're all deaf
Oh,
now.
yes. And especially to the one you're talking to using headphones. Yes. Ooh, let me cut that volume down here. Okay.
I'll take note of the timestamp, so I'll do an edit.
Yes.
Anyway, I'm sorry, you were saying?
You say you're going to do the timestamp, and I go back and listen to it, and 80% of things are not cut out. I see you pulling to Mr. Sunday movies. I know.
Well,
you guys
actually, you know what? That in the last one, when I left the room, and you were like looking up stuff on Twitter, I forgot to put in, because I write down timestamps whenever there's noise, and that saves me having to listen to like 2 hours of audio and all that.
Right.
But I forgot to write down that timestamp. So I was listening back to it when I was out going for a walk, trying to get some exercise. And when it hit that bit, I was like, oh, I forgot about this. So I had no idea what you were going to say. So I was listening in total horror, being like, oh man, what's he going to say?
You dropping bombs and racial remarks. And
yeah.
I just went on my Facebook. I went on my Facebook page and talked about girls and posting appropriate pictures, but I didn't give names.
Yeah, you'd be like,
Natalie.
Barack Obama does not care about black people. Thank you, Kanye West. You know, you've shown us the way once again.
I saw that baby for the first time like 2 weeks ago. And who was he? Mike
Myers standing next to him is just like,
is the best. Oh my god. Okay, have you seen the picture I sent you? Because that's our next story.
Yeah, it's a picture of Mockingjay.
Yes, the official final poster for The Hunger Games Mockingjays Stretch Too Far, Part 2, has been out. And Bandit, your thoughts on this really...
Well, my first thoughts are this is an audio medium, so I can't really show the viewers what you've shown me. But
yes, let's describe
her kind
it.
of it's about to shoot an arrow. It looks like she's in mid-jump, like through the air, like, whoa.
Yeah,
and
so
there's
she's in a red costume and a
bird
Mockingjay behind her.
A giant CG flaming bird.
Mm-hmm. I hate it.
What do you hate about it?
I hate the face of Jennifer Lawrence because once again,
no, don't
she looks
because you don't.
Once again, she looks bored. She looks like she doesn't want to be there.
How
and that's not
dare
the character
you,
of
sir?
Katniss.
That is my future wife you're talking about.
Yes, because we all know, according to Making Spider-Man, if you have a girl on your laptop computer, then that definitely means you'll date her in the future. So you have a shot.
Yeah. Don't you say anything
weird.
about her face. Every time I turn on my computer, there's her face looking at me because she's my desktop.
Still weird, Bandit. Still weird. She put in that timestamp right now. No, but I think like
I will not. I refuse.
I refuse. In the this movie's basically set in the last, I'd say, 75 pages of Mockingjay, and by that point, Katniss is accepted herself that she is the leader of this rebellion.
Finally.
And she still looks bored. She still looks like I don't want to be here. She still has Kristen Stewart syndrome, and I think it's stupid. It's annoying, and I hate how her costume looks. I hate how the bow looks.
Syndrome.
I hate that. I hate the
how
weird bird.
dare
I hate
you,
the
sir?
position.
Like, that's all I can say. How dare you? She's a fantastic actress. She's playing a character.
Yes, and the character sucks. So I'm gonna So sorry, Ahmed Best was just playing a character, but everyone hates Ahmed Best. Jake Lloyd was just playing a character, and the world hates Jake Lloyd. So I can hate Jennifer Lawrence if I want to hate Jennifer Lawrence. I think she's only been good in 2 movies, both with David O. Russell films. Speaking of which, I saw a trailer for Joy Before the Martian, and she looks bored in that movie too. So Yeah, Jennifer Lawrence apparently only has one emotion, and that's I don't want to be here. Except if it's the Oscars, then she.
I know she's not as amazing as Thomas in The Maze Runner, who I know you love so much. You know, just
at least
maybe you're sexist. That's what it is. You're sexist. You just hate women.
Oh yeah,
everyone. Trey is sexist.
Thanks for you feel that?
Did you write an article about Mad Max Fury Road? Is it?
Oh boy. Wow, thank you. Okay.
So basically the reason you hate that picture is because it has Jennifer Lawrence in it, pretty much.
No, the reason I hate the picture is that it doesn't for it to be the final for it to be a thing that captures the frame of the movie. Yeah. I don't want the frame to capture the Cadmus is going to be bored and just happen to be shooting arrows. I don't want that to be the final installment of this seemingly epic saga that only has one good movie. So, all right. So, speaking of more controversy, Terminator Genisys is apparently not going to get any more sequels. Thank God.
But why? China made enough money back. What's the problem?
Yes, but it's the law of diminishing returns. Would you rather, if that's the case, then it's all going to be set in China because it didn't make any money here in America.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. Look, the movie's got its problems, but
movie has all the problems.
Do you realize now that we're never going to see any more Terminators now? That's it.
That's fine.
And that's a sad
We're never going to see any more Saw movies. We're never going to see, probably we're not going to see any more, I don't know.
I want to see more Terminators because there's enough lore in that universe that hasn't been explored yet that you can make a lot of good movies out of.
Well,
and
let the rights expire. Let the rights
Terminator
expire, go
great,
back to James Cameron, and then have him give it to someone else that's not Alan Taylor.
Yeah,
because Alan Taylor can do Game of Thrones, and that's it. That's all he can do.
Do you reckon he's going to make any more? He's not going to make any more.
No, he's not. He's busy with Abbott.
Yeah, even if he does make more, he's probably just going to produce it or whatever. And he's not the same guy he was back in the 80s.
No,
when
which is why I think this franchise should die because it was made in the 80s. You say this franchise has so much more steam left, but it hasn't had a good movie since 1991. So I honestly don't see why the world is so enamored with the Terminator franchise.
But why,
oh my god, it can be good again. It can't.
But why can't it do like a Fast and the Furious? That took like 5 movies before it started becoming good.
Yeah, it took 5 movies and it took 10 years. That's it. Terminator. Let's see. When did the third one come out? 2003. And that's been what, 3 movies? It's been what, 24 years since the last good Terminator movie?
Yeah, exactly. So you think people would be able to get over the past and accept something new, but apparently not.
Really?
So,
you want us to get over good movies and accept bad ones?
No, it's just that Terminator 2 is great, but you're never going to get that again. Even if you got James Cameron back and tried to recreate the conditions of the second movie perfectly, gave him the same script, it still wouldn't be the same.
No, but
because
it would be good.
That was a product of those times.
No,
so
you're
never
right.
going to get that back. Never going to see it again.
Exactly.
Except when you take Terminator 2 out of your DVD collection and watch it at home, you won't ever see it again.
On your Jennifer Lawrence computer, yes.
So
listen.
So don't expect Terminator Genisys to be that. It's not going to be.
I wasn't
Get
expecting
over it.
Terminator
It's something
2. I was
new.
expecting a good movie, Bandit, and we haven't gotten a good movie. It's okay. Come over to the dark side. It's all right. We have cookies. All right?
I thought it was good.
Let the hate flow through you.
It had problems, but nowhere near as much as, some of the others.
Okay. All right.
Anyway,
well,
I just think it's a shame. I think we're going to miss
we'll
out.
talk about that on we're going to discuss that on Nerd Debate, but we'll get to Nerd Debate soon.
Yeah.
Just
one final thing. That end credit scene had the new school Genesis and the old school Skynet teaming up, which is really cool, and I wanted to see where that was going to go. Never going to see it now. Such a shame.
The underdeveloped new Skynet villain of Matt Smith that we barely even got to know because
we had a T-800 Arnie with a liquid metal arm at the end. How cool is that? He's got like one robot hand and one liquid metal hand. And the liquid metal hand was the one that was shaky throughout the movie. See? Foreshadowing, symbolism. But see, people don't get that because they're just like, Terminator 2.
Well, maybe if the movie made sense before we got to that.
See, I'm channeling Billy T-800 now.
Let's move on before we have a screaming match each other because the comments are going to get mad at this section of the podcast.
Yeah.
Okay. Something we can both hate. Michael Bay has confirmed, at least Paramount has confirmed, that we're probably going to be getting Transformers 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Wow. 4 of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
Does that
can't
mean
do it.
they're planning all 4 stories as a giant story arc ahead of time? Because it could get good if they're doing that.
No, it can't.
No.
In an age where I saw a really optimistic movie a few hours ago, I've now gone back into the real world, and the real world says the term that Transformers can't be good anymore.
Have you learned
now
nothing from Matt Damon? You have a problem, you solve it. You move on.
Then you get rid of Michael Bay. Nothing's getting solved here. They're just doing more money, and they're going to make money because
Genesis.
people are going to go. I can't do this.
You fix the problem, you move on. Sorry, I'm sorry. Go on.
Well, we're gonna get to the Martian pretty soon. But I'm not excited for what Paramount does anymore, because Paramount has disappointed me with 2 franchises now, with both Terminator and Transformers, both from the 80s, and both need to die. Like, let's just let it sit for a while until a filmmaker can come along that has passion for it and do something great here, not just have some beast shank going on screen. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the same crap.
And someone
over
with passion can come along and do something, and then all the fanboys from old can crap on it and destroy any chance of seeing anything good in the future. Yeah, great.
Terminator Genesis is not a good movie.
It is a good movie.
Okay, yeah.
I will argue
just
that.
Just like Godzilla's a good movie. Mm-hmm.
that was a bad movie.
How could you like Godzilla? How could you not like Godzilla but you like Terminator Genesis? That math does not add up. There's a problem.
Because Godzilla is a monster movie with little to no monstering in it.
And
Terminator is a Terminator movie with plenty of terminating in it.
Terminator is a sci-fi movie in which the science fiction, the rules it's supposed to establish, makes no sense the entire way through.
No, I think Terminator is an action movie with a little bit of sci-fi. I don't think it's a sci-fi. People don't think of Terminator when they think sci-fi. They think action.
They think of T2, they think of sci-fi. Terminator Genesis is definitely a sci-fi film. It's
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
It's
an
travel,
action movie
robots.
first. And it's time travel story second.
Well, the action's stupid too.
Come on, you didn't like the 2 T-800s fighting each other? That was awesome.
No, because the CG Arnold looked crappy.
That wasn't CG. That was a body double.
No, that was definitely CG.
No, it wasn't. I've seen pictures of the guy because they got a bodybuilder who was exactly the same proportions as Arnie when he was that age. They just stuck his face on the guy.
I like to think that you have like this obsessive wall, and like on the top says reasons why Terminator Genesis is a good movie.
Dude,
and,
there's behind the scenes on YouTube. You can go see it. The bus flip was real. All the rest of it.
Congratulations. Anyway. Yes.
The T-1000, a real liquid metal monster.
No way.
Yep, they actually invented.
Okay. Well,
anyway, sorry, man. I keep derailing the news.
It's official. We can no longer we can't do a Terminator Genesis episode apparently because it would just be us talking over each other for 2 hours.
Okay, so, I'm sorry. Please continue.
No, it's fine. Okay. Well, Bandit. Moving on from the news here, let's get into the bulk of what the episode's going to be.
Before we move on, I got to give you an update on my homework assignment for this week.
Oh, that's right.
Maybe we should start getting theme songs for the homework assignment. I don't know. I have to... Maybe that bit in the Fight Club.
Mr. Potter, did you do your potions homework? Yeah, do that. Pull the Snape from Harry Potter.
I was thinking Tyler Durden from Fight Club, who's like, "Hey, here's your homework assignments for this week," but he might not actually say that in the movie. But anyway. My homework assignment for this week was to catch up on both the Jump Street movies and on Tomorrowland.
Right. Let's start with Tomorrowland.
Okay, you want to start with Tomorrowland? Okay.
Well, wait, which one do you have more to say about? Is it Jump Street or Tomorrowland?
Well, it's been a while since I watched them because I watched them pretty soon after the last podcast, so I'll see what I can remember. Okay. But all right, Tomorrowland. Very Lindelof-y.
Yes.
But I found it telling in a lot of the kind of philosophy, for want of a better word, of the...
You mean the nonsensical rambling? Yes.
Well,
right.
Here's the thing, it's a Disney movie, but I found it really hard. I had to continually remind myself of that it was a Disney movie, because I was like, I don't like what they're saying here. Like, the whole idea of, like, there's a snobbish elitism to this whole thing of, all these people are geniuses and they're better than everyone else, so they're going to live in this heavenly realm and they're higher. And I'm like, I really don't like this. This seems very sort of Nazi-esque Übermensch demigod. So you shouldn't be thinking that in a Disney movie.
No.
And it's like
Walt Disney was anti-Semitic and
sexist. It's like, you know, one of them says like the idea is if all these scientists can work on stuff free of politics and free of outside distractions, what amazing things could they do? And I thought about it and I was like, actually I don't think that would do very well, because like you can't be creative if you're living in a vacuum. You know, if you're living in a bubble, you don't invent new stuff. You can't innovate. You know, that's why all technology, like so much advancements in technology came out of World War II, because people had to find new stuff. You know, little tribes that live on an island and have no contact with anyone else, they stay the same for thousands of years because they don't need to update. So I don't think that environment would be a good one for scientists to actually come up with new stuff. So like, again, Disney movie, I kept having to remind myself of that.
Well, you can think in a Disney movie. I mean, that's okay. I mean, that's movies are for interpretation.
I know, but I was just thinking, I don't know if that's a good message.
No,
for kids, but it did make me think though.
Yeah,
I wonder how much of that is some of Damon Lindelof's inner channeling. Like maybe part of the reason why he thinks that people hate him is just because he's special. And he's just muggles can't understand because he's this special being, blah, blah, blah.
If Damon Lindelof thinks that we're muggles, then someone's got to... all right, I'll be right back. I got to go hire... I'll go get Vincent Vega and Jules Winfield, and they'll teach him a lesson.
But anyway, Tomorrowland, I didn't like it because it had that whole... I couldn't separate the implications of what Tomorrowland is from my political views like that, where I'm like, I don't think that if someone's smart in one area, that means they're better than other people, you know? And I don't think you can't be creative if you live in a vacuum. You know, if you try to create something in a vacuum, you're George Lucas doing the Star Wars prequels. You know, you had no one to challenge him. You had no one to push him to be better. And the same thing would happen with something like Tomorrowland. Scientists would end up behind, you know, people in the real world. Anyway.
Yes.
But 22 Jump Street, I absolutely loved. Yes.
Yay.
So
Yay.
Good. But actually, like you said, you liked the second one better. I like the first one better, actually.
Really?
Yeah. I thought the first one was really good, and the second one, I think it lent a little too heavily on constantly making the meta jokes that were just recycling the story from the first movie.
Right.
Which was funny the first 3 or 4 times they said it, but after a while, you're kind of like, yeah, this is just like the first movie.
I think that's what's so great about it, because I think they went in. I like to think that they wrote the script in like 3 days, because I think they went in knowingly adding in the exact same beats for the most part. Yeah. You know, just on a bigger scale. I thought that I liked that.
I get it works as a joke, but at the same time, you're still kind of like, you couldn't try a little harder to just.
Well, to be fair, this came out the same. It's the same directors, and it came out the same year as they were doing the Lego Movie. So I think they might have had their fingers in other pies.
But it made me think of like what you and I said last week, that if they were going to cross that over with Men in Black, like they said, maybe Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum would be the new Men in Black recruits.
That'd be so awesome.
I would love that, but they need to work a lot harder on the script, because they couldn't just do same thing again, but Men in Black making jokes about, oh, this is like Jump Street. No. Yeah, you'd actually have to create a story. You'd need to do the Roger Rabbit.
Yes.
Because like when Who Framed Roger Rabbit came out, Steven Spielberg said to them, you know, it's going to be great that we've got this mixing of live action and cartoons for the first time on film, but you need something more than that. You actually need a good story, otherwise it's not going to matter. And Spielberg was right. So
I don't think these movies are the ones to really focus more on the story. I think it really is a series of things leading to a punchline, and I think the punchlines land a lot better in that second movie, especially in that whole whenever Ice Cube finds out that Jonah Hill's banging his daughter. I think that's the funniest. Yeah. Channing Tatum's reaction to that. Oh my god. Yeah. Oh my god. What he's just. Oh, I'm not usually one to like start like tearing up from laughing too hard. Yeah. But one moment the bell dings and he freaks out, I was like, it's so funny. And and then they're at the brunch, and Queen Latifah shows up for no reason, and he's like, "Can a black man get some straight beans?" And like, "Yeah, get him some food. He's black. He's been through a lot." I'm like, wow, this is. I thought that movie did a lot more things that were funnier than the first one did. Just because the first one really had to establish that idea.
Yeah, I thought the first one was funnier because that was the first time I'd heard those jokes.
Right.
In the second one, I was like, yeah, but I've heard that joke in the last movie because I watched them back to back. So I was literally like, yeah,
that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah.
But anyway, yes,
they're very similar structure-wise and everything. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, also, I guess I'll throw this in here. I started watching Pulp Fiction this morning just because I couldn't get any sleep. I got up really early today.
So you only watched it this morning. You haven't finished watching it.
I haven't finished it because I haven't seen it in its entirety yet. So I decided, you know what? I have Netflix. I have my Kindle. I'm gonna sit here and watch Pulp Fiction today. Okay. And and from what I'm at, I'm like an hour into it. It's a long movie. I'm like an hour into it, and it's really good.
Which
it's
part
really
are you up to?
It's really funny. It's violent, but it's like it's funny violence. I'm at
yeah.
Like when they have to put the adrenaline back in their heart, and I'm really interested to see if these stories are going to cross over like the way I think they're going to cross over.
Okay, I won't spoil it for you, but which bit are you up to? They just did the needle in the heart thing.
Yeah, like I'm at the part where Mia is telling Vince goodbye. I don't know what happens after that. Like I'm right at that part of the story, so I'm really excited to see what happens next. And Bruce Willis shows up for no reason. I think the opening theme might be my favorite just because it's 5 minutes of Tim Roth and Amanda, or whatever, Plummer, and they're just talking about.
You sound like a duck. Between quack quack quack.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I want to, I'm not saying I want to rob banks.
and he's talking about how when they robbed that liquor store and they got the wallets from the people. It's the dialogue is so great. The Samuel Jackson is just when they're talking about how they threw Antoine out a window for a foot massage and the Royale with cheese. Huh?
Remember, she said the only part of me he ever touched was my hand when he shook it.
Yeah, and so whenever
remember
that
when you watched the finisher of that scene.
Yeah, and so and when they're talking about how they call it Le Big Mac and the Royale with cheese, I'm like, wow, this is
good old Samuel.
Yeah. And then he tastes the bacon donut. This is a tasty burger.
Well, apparently,
and then
have you seen Reservoir Dogs?
I have not.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
No, but
I was going to say that John Travolta's character is the brother of the psycho character in that, but you haven't seen it, so don't worry.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how the rest of this movie plays out. I'm really hoping that it's as good as the first hour is. At least I still have an hour and a half to go.
All right, but we'll have to. Well, that's your homework assignment for next week.
Yes,
we have to see how you like the second half of Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get into the meat of this episode: The Martian.
And now our feature presentation.
So Bandit, I guess here's how we're going to structure this episode, just so I can formulate my thoughts. We're going to talk about we're going to get into what we maybe didn't like about the film in spoilers fashion, of course, and then we're going to get into what we liked about the film. So Bandit, okay. What were some of your issues that you had with The Martian?
Just to clarify, are we going full spoilers from the beginning, or should we do a little bit of spoiler-free talk and then I'll edit in me saying a timestamp for them to jump forward, or do you want to do something like that, or just full spoilers?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, we can do not spoilers. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So for spoiler review, we'll just do our mini reviews of what we thought it was, I guess.
Yeah, okay, that works.
Right. Well, I really loved it. Did you? You loved it, yeah?
Yeah, I thought it was. It puts a smile on your face when you're watching it. It's like the moment the movie ended. Without giving anything away, the moment it ended, I'm like, I turned to my friend Christian. I said, "Man, that was so good. Like it makes you feel good inside. That's how I can. That's why I can describe it."
And remember how last week on the podcast we were talking about two themes that seem to be in all of Ridley Scott's movies.
It's in there. Yeah. It's briefly in there, but it's in there, you know.
One of them was, but there was
not
the two things
violence,
is
but
the weird sexual violence, which
Yes.
wasn't in this.
Thank God.
There was a little bit of a Prometheus-style medical scene where he has to pull a bit of shrapnel out of himself. That was a bit intense.
Yeah. Oh
And religion versus atheism.
Yes.
Which was not, we'll save that for spoilers. There was a little, just a tiny bit.
I will tell you that that part is in the book, because I'm about 100 pages into the book, and that is in the book.
Okay.
They don't touch it as much as he probably touched on it in the movie, but it's briefly stated that
but
he did that
didn't
in the
go
book.
full into that. He was just there. But I remember when I saw him holding this little crucifix, I was like, "Oh, here we go, Ridley. Here we go. Come on."
I set up like, okay, I gotta remember this scene.
Yeah, but he didn't go like in his full atheist thing, which is good because, as we discussed last week, a lot of his movies that aren't that great, that's the one thing they all have in common.
Yeah,
Whenever he
they
tries
have
to
this
do
weird
that
atheist
religion theme,
undertone.
the movies don't turn out very good. Whenever he doesn't, they turn out great.
Yes.
And this was a great one.
Yeah, it really is, and I'm not sure how much of that is due to Ridley Scott, because I think, from what I hear, he joined on the project pretty late. But you can definitely see his style in the movie, the way he shoots and stuff.
The world
I think
building,
he takes the Martian landscapes and just really makes you feel like this guy is alone. And I think this is the biggest compliment I can give it. It doesn't feel sad. You're just like you're more or less just on the like. He is in possibly the worst situation ever. He is stranded 400 million miles away or whatever from the world. And yet, the way that it's put together, you feel just so like happy the entire way. And it's so... I think it's because Mark Watney has such a good uplifting thoughts about this. And it's so good to sit down and watch a movie that makes you smile again. I haven't... it's good to smile in a movie. I don't get that a lot. In these modern movies where it's all supposed to be Christopher Nolan and dark, and I just
yeah. Well, it was interesting as well because there's a whole again, don't worry, it's not spoilerish, but there's a whole scene in it where he's trying to make water, but NASA a week ago actually did discover water on Mars, which was cool. So when I was watching that scene, I was like, this scene would go differently now.
And talking about the water, I guess you want to get into the science of, especially from the book.
Sure.
The book is very science heavy.
Oh, definitely.
They go into the whole process of how they make the water and how this works. And I think they really translated that well over to the film, because you could have easily this could have been an Interstellar situation in which you really have to sit down and explain things for 10 minutes about what's going on. But no, they in like 30 seconds, it's like, I need hydrogen and oxygen. I got to burn it. And we'll get to what happened when he burns it. They cut things out of the book, but it doesn't feel like, that should have been in there. It all really flows well together. And I think that's Drew Goddard at his best. Drew Goddard, for those who don't know, who did Daredevil and Cabin in the Woods. And just keep going.
Yeah, and I said in my review of my video on my channel that he's kind of like Matt Damon in this is like the exact opposite of the astronaut he played in Interstellar. When that guy was stranded alone on a planet for ages. Mind you, he did know the world was literally ending. This Matt Damon knows the world is there. He could probably see it from where he was. But totally different. That guy was nutcase, bad guy. Yeah. This one, he's totally optimistic, and he doesn't mope around.
No,
and I love that because it's like, I was like, that's what scientists would be like. They just get to work on fixing the problem. That's what those guys are trained for. Those are the kinds of personalities they pick. And I really love the crew as well. Especially the captain. The girl captain. I loved her
Jessica
so much.
Chastain, who also from Interstellar and Zero Dark 30 is really, I think, a standout among this cast. And a great cast.
Except for Sue Storm. She was,
I thought she was
just there.
She wasn't, she didn't, like, there wasn't, how do I put this without spoiling it? My only problem with the film really is that there's a certain point where a character gets introduced, and I feel like he's only introduced to just to further the story along, and that's Donald Glover's character.
And
his character is so is such a different vibe from what the rest of the movie. Like the rest of the movie, it's serious, but it has fun with how serious it is.
Yeah.
Like if that makes any sense. Like Matt Damon, like without getting anything away, like he'll stitch himself up and then just drop an F-bomb. You know, like he'll find, you know, he'll do some things and he'll be like, you know, I'm alive, yay, you know. And so like it's serious, but yet it has fun with how serious it is. And then we get Donald Glover's character, and he's
very
kind of
cartoonish, isn't
he?
he?
Yeah. Like he came out of a different movie, and my whole audience laughed, and I went, I'm not a fan of this guy. And that's my only problem with the movie is that I feel like the movie just comes to a complete stop, and I felt like I was watching a different movie every time he showed up on screen. I wasn't a big fan of that, but that might be my only problem.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I think also like one thing, like again, this is a non-spoiler section, but like without giving away anything, is what you can get from the trailers is like Matt Damon's sort of proactive approach during it. It actually kind of reminded me of there's a documentary called Touching the Void, which is a couple of mountain climbers. True story about a couple of mountain climbers where one of them breaks his leg and he has to crawl down this huge mountain all by himself. But one of the things he said was the only way he did it, because when he looked at the task ahead of him of getting down this mountain, which even with both legs working in the condition he was in, was, you know, almost suicide. And he said, it's absolutely overwhelming when I look at it. He said, the only way I could do it is I just look at, because he couldn't walk out to crawl, he had a broken leg.
Yeah.
So he said, I'd look at a rock over there and I'd say, I'm going to make it to that rock in X amount of time.
Yeah.
And if he makes it to the rock, he feels fantastic. Then he looks at the next rock and he's like, I'm going to get there. And he goes to the next one. So that's the only way he got down, is not by looking at the huge task, but just breaking it down into a series of smaller ones. And Matt Damon did a similar thing here. Like you see in the trailer, as soon as he gets
that's exactly what I do when I jog. You know, I'll see a street corner and I said, you know what, Trey, let's get to that street corner. And I get there, and next thing you know, I've jogged 2 miles, which is a daunting task. No, but you were saying, keep going. Yes.
Matt Damon though, he did a similar thing, because you know, when he gets stranded, he just immediately is like, all right, what's my top priority? And he just got to work on that. And I love that.
Yeah.
And then it's just, he says at the end, he's like, you know, you fix a problem, then you move right into the next, and you fix enough problems and you get home.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah,
and he said
that's
because he's like, because, you know, without giving anything away, his mentality is bad things are going to happen, and you gotta work through them, and that really adds to the whole optimism of that movie.
Yeah, he says, like, space travel, you'll eventually be faced with a situation where you're like, this is where my story ends, and he goes, you can either accept that or you get to work.
Yeah,
and I was like, great message. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this is what I'm thinking. Whenever people say that, well, you need original movie, you need original properties. I'm like, you don't need original properties, because this is based off a book, and the book itself isn't much of an original story. A man gets stranded in place, and people have to come save him. Yeah, we've seen that a bazillion times before, but it's how you execute it. It's how you put everything together. You know, and we're going to answer a question about that later. But if you have a good script, if you have a good director, at least a competent director, and if you have good talent behind it, then you don't have to have an original property. You know, because the Green Inferno is an original property, but it sucks. You know, like you can, you know what I'm saying? And this is. Yeah, it's a mindset that people need to stop having.
Yeah, absolutely. But also, I think, because applying that also to Ridley Scott, I think this pretty much proved in my mind that the issue with Ridley Scott's bad movies is he's gotten bad writers to write them. Because this proves, as his other movies has, that when he's got a good writer, when he's got a good script, he does a fantastic job with it. If he doesn't have a good script, Damon Lindelof, he can't do a good job with it. So Scott, make sure the guys who are writing Alien, Prometheus, Lost are good. And if they're not, fire them and get somebody else.
Just get Drew Goddard. Just get get him back.
Just exactly.
Okay.
You want to go into spoilers?
Yes. Time for what they call Weekly Planet. Hey, wasn't this a good bit?
So if you haven't seen the movie yet and you want to jump ahead, you can go to time 1 hour, 24 minutes, and 46 seconds. 1:24:46. Go now if you want to skip. Spoilerific.
All right, spoiler.
Let's go
Spoilers. Don't watch this if you haven't seen the movie. Okay. So going back to the whole Donald Glover problem, which is, I guess, let's get my problem out of the way here.
Sure.
He, from what I can recall, they're not sure how to get Matt Damon off the planet. They can get him the supplies, but they can't get Mark off the planet. And then Donald Glover comes, and his introduction at first, he wakes up and he's like, oh, okay, he's this kind of rugged, kind of I don't want to say flamboyant, but kind of outlandish kind of guy, and I'm okay with it. And then he does some slapstick and slips and falls over something, and I'm just like, well, when are we walking a Benny Hill cartoon or whatever? And then he explains his plan of how he's going to get Mark back, and they do it, and it's a good plan and it's a good explanation. It's a good way to simplify what's going on to the audience. Yeah. But at the same time, it doesn't fit this movie at all. And it took me completely out of it.
Yeah, you're right. And you know what? Before I went and saw this movie, I gathered together what clips were already on YouTube, and it was that scene where he's what we do is we slingshot round Earth, woo, and he goes around. And I was like, what? I'm like, even though I hadn't seen the rest of the movie, I was like, what is he? What?
See, I intentionally avoided your review because I didn't want to see any clips of the movie yet.
Oh, okay, sure.
So I'll have to go back and watch it later. Just because I'm like, which is nice that you provide clips for your review, but it's like I did for Avengers.
I might actually change that because not everyone likes. Yeah, a lot of people have like, oh, don't include clips, but I'm like, they're already on YouTube. It's like the same as the trailers.
Yeah, I see you. I understand where you're coming from.
It just helps to make it more. But anyway.
Yeah, as a YouTuber, I understand a visual medium definitely helps.
Plus, my background songs.
I didn't want to see clips.
My background songs are only like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So if I have a clip every 2 minutes, then I can start the song again or swap it with a different one without having to try to blend the audio, which is often tricky.
Right. I just fade out and fade in really on my audio. You can tell if you really listen carefully to it. I don't know how to do audio whatsoever, which is why I use Apple headphones for recording podcasts. That being said, I thought in the book they really go into detail about how he has to use the feces to fertilize the Martian sand. But what I love in this movie, they didn't talk down to you at that scene. You just kind of have to like accept the fact that he's using fertilizer and he's making soil, and you just buy into it. And I'm like, thank you. That's exactly what I wanted to see. And it's just one more thing that made the movie so great.
But I did, his character was a little bit cartoonish.
Yes.
But I think, I don't think he was a real big problem. But out of some of the other reviews I've seen, like the only kind of criticism anyone really had was somebody said they didn't like that the astronauts were so young, because he's like, the astronauts shouldn't be that young. And the other reviewers were like, well, Damon's 44. That's like the ideal age for an astronaut. Yeah. And especially if they're going to Mars and back, it's going to take a long time. So you would get younger people because they've got to spend like a year traveling there and a year traveling back.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get a 60-year-old. They might have a heart attack on them.
And honestly, if the age of the astronauts bother you to the point of where it takes you out of the movie, I don't think this is the movie for you. I think you should go back and watch 2001: A Space Odyssey, where you can just I
think Sue Storm seemed very young, but she always looks like she's like 15. You know. Also,
I think Kate Mara is a great actress, but she hasn't shown any greatness since House of Cards.
She's a good actress. Yeah,
I think she's. How much House of Cards have you seen? I know you started watching it in a while. You've seen all of it. Yeah,
I'm waiting for the next season.
I thought she was great in House of Cards. Wait, have you? Do you guys have season 3 on Netflix? Of House of Cards? Do you guys have season 3 of House of Cards on Netflix?
Yeah, I think so. Like I saw the last bit is when. Maybe I shouldn't say in case of. I won't say in case of spoilers. Anyway, we're talking about The Martian, but yeah.
I'm sorry. I'll tell you later. Okay, sorry. No, but I think all the performances are great. I think Chiwetel Ejiofor, besides Matt Damon, might be the best in the movie. I think he added to that. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say before we move on, Sue Storm, like the romance between her and the Winter Soldier.
Oh yeah,
comes completely out of nowhere.
Oh yeah, I mean they have a subtle look, but even at that point when we're looking at each other, it's.
But then you see him with a baby at the end, so.
Yeah, and so you're like, oh, okay, I guess that means he's been back for a few months because they had time to go back to Earth and Bone and have a child, so he must have been back for at least a year, right?
Yeah, so but I guess it makes sense. I mean, if you put guys and girls together in a colony for a year, there's going to be a romance between somebody. So I guess it makes sense in a way.
Yeah, and I think that also that might express another, I don't want to say flaw, but another thing I maybe like to see explored more is the crew itself. I don't think we got to know them. I don't think we really got to know them enough. I think that was, I wasn't as invested in the drama of the last few minutes, especially whenever they were like, and we'll lose the crew. I'm like, well, I don't really care because we don't really know the crew.
Really?
You know, we haven't really. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I don't feel like we really like. I felt like they understood that the crew didn't have enough personality to it, so they gave Kate Mara and Sebastian Stan a romance. They gave Michael Pena the cliche family. They made. I think the only one they really gave character to might have been Jessica Chastain, Commander Lewis, because I don't think that they really explored the character of the crew enough. But
see, I thought they did a good job, like a really good job, of communicating what everyone's personality was with only just a few lines. I thought that was amazing the way they did it.
Wow.
I felt like I knew what every single person in that crew was, even though we'd only heard them say like 2 lines. Wow.
I felt like they kept it simple, and right away it felt more like an archetypal kind of thing of like, this is this cliche guy, this is this cliche guy, this is the comedic funny one, this is the weird, this is the Russian one, or this is the foreign accent one, this is the hard ass leader, this is pardon my French, this is the quiet and subdued nerdy one, this is the stoic one, and I'm
I didn't think so at all, but anyway,
I don't know,
doesn't matter. But like we said, we got to focus on Matt Damon. Because I mean,
yes,
like in a movie, you got to focus on Matt Damon in that because that's what people want to see.
But that being said, dude, I still love the movie. It's my second favorite of the year so far, behind Inside Out.
I think it's probably one of the best. Like, it's got to be in the top 10 of the year at least.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
You know something. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just saying Matt Damon is great, and he's the reason that this movie works the way it does, because he's able to convey that optimism that Mark Watney has in the novel.
Yeah. And it is very optimistic. Everybody gets a happy ending, except Sean Bean.
Yeah, he's just over there teaching golf at the end. He's just
was that him? Was it?
Yeah.
I didn't even see him. So he did. He's like in that montage thing at the end. It did show Sean Bean.
Yeah, it shows him like teaching golf or whatever.
See, I didn't notice. I was like, what happened to him? He got fired by Jeff Daniels, and now he doesn't get a happy ending like everyone else.
No. He just cuts to his head on a spike.
Okay, but I actually one thing I liked about this movie that I think Interstellar got wrong is that in this, there's not really any bad guys, because you don't need bad guys.
Yeah.
Like, the closest thing to a bad guy is Jeff Daniels.
But even
the head of NASA, but you kind of understand what he's saying.
Exactly. Like he says, are we gonna risk? That's even a line of movie. Like, do we save the lives of 5 other people, or do we risk all 6? I loved that kind of dynamic that he had to deal with, and you could see it in his face of like, he wants to save Mark, but he can't save Mark because he's got to save the rest of the crew.
He's kind of right. Like when he says, he's like, look, I'm sorry Matt Damon's on the planet, but I can bring 5 people back. For sure, we're going to do that. Yeah. And you're like, yeah, I can understand. Like, I think like in any, like in NASA or in the military or whatever, that's the decision you make. Yeah. If you can't stop a disaster, you try to minimize the damage. You don't risk more damage. It's like some cost,
It reminds me of the character, kind of like what they were trying to do in 2012 with that, speaking about the trilogy for a movie, that Oliver Platt character in 2012, that government guy that wouldn't let other people on the boat, and they made him like the villain for being that guy. Yeah, and I feel like they could have easily gone in that direction
with Jeff Daniels. Yeah,
with Jeff Daniels' character, but they didn't. They decided to keep it more of a real guy.
Yeah,
and I appreciate that
because like I mean, in real life, the people who make that decision would not be twirling their mustache.
No,
you know, they'd just be like, "Hey, this is my job. This is what I have to do." But I think when the rest of the crew have that discussion and they decide to go back and get Matt Damon, when I was in the audience, I was like, I probably would have done that differently if I was that captain chick, because I thought, no, like, if you discuss it openly like that, of course everyone's going to say yes, let's go get him. But because some of them probably have kids back home that they might want to say no because they care more about seeing their kids, and fair enough. But they're not going to say no in front of everyone else. So I would have said, we're going to have an anonymous vote, and it has to be everyone agrees.
Yeah.
Right? No one's going to know what anyone says. You know, write your names, put it in this hat, and if I get one no, I don't even know who it is. No one's going to know. And, you know, I thought that would have been a more fair way to do it.
That being said, they had recently found out that Mark was still alive, and so they Commander Lewis very much had that guilt of I let him die, or I left him there, and the whole crew has that feeling of we are the reason he's still stuck on Mars. And it is Lewis's fault, because she's the one that suggested that they go out there in the storm, and even though Matt Damon said that they should just wait it out at the very start, Matt Damon's like, Commander, we need to wait this out, and she's like, no, we gotta go now. So that's that.
There was that bit when Matt Damon, like, he makes contact back with Earth again, and he's just typing with them, and when they type back and they say the rest of the crew doesn't know you're alive, and then he has all that swearing, which was hilarious. But remember then,
and then they said, Mark, be careful. The whole world is listening on you.
Were they though? Like, was the whole world watching? Because we don't really see that.
Well, no, but it led to a great joke where he was like, "Yeah," and then he just typed something else, and it cuts to him talking to the president or whatever, and it's like, yes, sir, we know, yes,
we're sure he didn't mean that.
Yes, I got a good laugh out of the audience, because
my audience was kind of quiet, so I was like, am I misinterpreting a joke there? He said something about the president, right?
Well, I imagine, because and then later on he says, yes, he told many of our crewmates to have sex with themselves when they suggested about the plants, and I was like,
well, he is the greatest botanist on the planet.
On that planet, so. Yeah, I thought it's a great line. It's like, I'm the greatest botanist on this planet.
Can we talk about the intensity of when he's ripping that bit of metal out of his gut?
Yeah.
Wow, man.
That really... I think that really set, like, that made me uncomfortable.
That was
I'm happy they got out of that tone quickly, because I wasn't expecting it to be, because right from the get-go the book isn't right from the get-go the book is not like dark or grim or anything. It's always pretty much the way he is for the most of the movie. So for the opening scene to be kind of like, oh no, he's trapped, oh he's dead, oh wait, he's not dead, oh he's got to dig this thing out. And then it just kind of switches the moment he drops that F-bomb. The tone of the whole movie just switches. I'm like, oh, thank God.
It was pretty intense. I know, like, in my audience, like, there was someone way over in the corner. There was a woman who was like, I can hear all their friends going,
oh, man.
Shh.
Yeah, like, easy. People in my hands are going, ooh. I was sitting there going,
That was very MedPod Prometheus-y.
Yeah.
Do you reckon Matt Damon actually lost all that weight in real life?
That was going to be my next question. Yeah. If not, then it was very convincing CG.
Yeah.
Because I when he lost all the weight, because he's done it before for a role. But he said that his doctors would never let him do it again because it caused like heart problems and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, if he's like 44, it's probably not a good idea to put your body through that again. So since
Christian Bale,
well, that guy's a nutcase.
Yeah, he'll lose 200 pounds and then gain all that muscle back for Batman Begins.
Yeah, well, it's like Shia LaBeouf, who had one of his teeth actually ripped out to match his character in Fury, and it's like, dude, nobody cares about Fury, okay? Don't actually
Fury.
do that, you know?
I loved Fury. Don't badmouth that movie. It's a good movie. I never saw it. I didn't bother. It's great. You should watch it. And
he's that a homework assignment? Because I'll put it in.
I'm sorry?
Is that a homework assignment?
Yes,
All right,
it is your homework assignment.
Homework.
It is in many ways what you're reading, what you're gonna read, mate.
Furious.
No, but
Shire. Got it.
You should watch it. It's good. And Brad Pitt's great in it too. It kind of slows down in the middle, but whatever.
But Matt Damon. I was like, since that, like, yeah, if I was Ridley Scott, I'd be like, it's only a few scenes. We'll just get a body double. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, and they do it all the time in Game of Thrones. They get body doubles all the time. I think.
No need to put yourself through all that for only a few shots.
Like even after Mark Watney was losing all that weight, he looked so malnourished. He found the problem. He found the brighter side of things. He's like, well, you know what that means, guys. I'm a space pirate.
Captain Blogbeard.
Yeah, I'm like Captain Blogbeard. I'm like, come on, dude, that's great. Like, and that's really what, again, going back to the whole thing, that's what ties this movie together. The connection that the world, in which the world can come together and just do something really positive and do something really great. The Chinese coming to help the Americans, help save this man who back on his planet is having the same amount of positivity, the same amount of just heartfeltness to him. He's just like, I'm not giving up, and even to the point where when he's popping his suit, and he's like, I'll be like Iron Man, and he's like, and it's just him floating out of it's everything's so well done. I'm really happy that this made me smile.
Something. Maybe this is just sort of speaks more to my lifestyle, but what I actually thought, because he's farming all the potatoes, I was like,
yeah.
So you got all those potatoes, and if you chop up some potatoes, put them in a jar of water, leave it for a while, you got vodka. So I thought he's probably going to do that at some point. I mean, surely he would know. Like, even when he got back on the ship with the rest of his crew, I expected him to take a little flask out of his Martian thing and be like, anybody want some Martian moonshine? Farmed from poo.
That's good. I tell you what, I didn't know that's how you made vodka. So
yeah.
Apparently Bandit had some Russian in him. Good to know.
But it was nice to see also that China saved the day. Unfortunately, you didn't save the day for Terminator Genesis, did you, China? But you're going to save Matt Damon. Sorry, but yes.
I'm not going to acknowledge it. I'm not even going to bring it up because I'm not even going to acknowledge it. No, it's done.
but that was good. I like that, and I like that they did it as, we're not going to make this a political thing. We're just going to have it scientists across the world, joining in camaraderie to help this guy out. And I found that believable. Like, I thought that's probably what would happen nowadays. Yeah. Like, people would be able to set aside politics and say, let's get Matt Damon.
Yeah, and I think this movie does not work without Matt Damon. I can't think of many other actors who really encaptured just that sense of, you know what, I can do this. And I've always talked about this to my friends, that there's something about Matt Damon that just makes you want to give him a big hug. And I think it's a smile. Have you seen The Adjustment Bureau? It's him and Emily Blunt.
Yeah,
and I think that is a great movie that not enough people have seen. And there's a great scene when he's starting to realize that what's going on, and he's talking to he runs past the reception. He's like, call 911, call 911. He's just like, oh. And then he keeps running because he realizes that the world around him is freezing or whatever. I think there's something about Matt Damon that works so well, and how he became so synonymous with the character of Mark Watney. And I think that, I think such a good bloke.
Yeah, it makes me wonder. I was like, I wonder who else they might have had lined up for that. Like, I don't know who else could have done it. Maybe Robert Downey Jr.?
Oh, I think he could have done it. I think Clooney could have done it. I think Clooney would have been good.
Maybe if Tom Hanks was 20 years younger, he would have done as good a job.
Yeah.
I mean, he was in Castaway.
I think if they wanted to do a different
James Franco? No, not really.
No. He would have been high the whole way through. He would have been high. No.
Yeah, that's true.
I think Clooney, maybe McConaughey. I think they both could have been great in them. But Downey Jr., Downey Jr., maybe Chris Hemsworth. Get some of those Avengers guys in there. They all have good Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Pratt could do the lovable
great
thing as much as Matt Damon does. Yeah, like you said, Matt Damon, you just want to give him a big hug.
Yeah, I think Chris Pratt could have been good.
Bro hug, nothing weird.
Yeah.
Even
just
though.
like, you just want to walk in and be like, sir, can I give you a hug? And he'll be like, yeah, sure. I'm just like, do you know what the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge is?
Yeah. That's
Matt
not
Damon
still going on, is it?
Yeah, he stuck his head in a toilet for it because he
Oh,
didn't want to waste water. Yeah.
have you seen the Benedict Cumberbatch one of those?
I haven't.
It's hilarious. Look it
What
up
does he
when we're
do?
done with this.
Oh,
Benedict
okay, I'll look it
Cumberbatch.
up.
He went
Alright.
all in too.
Yeah. Matt Damon was like, yeah, my wife doesn't want me to waste water in this California drought, so and he sticks his head in a toilet.
Well, I did
my God.
I did a little bit of researching for The Martian as well on how it was filmed, and by that I mean I watched a YouTube video that already had done the research for me. the whole sandstorm, the whole sandstorm that you see in the movie, that was an artificial sandstorm created with actual fan and debris that Ridley Scott threw out at everyone.
Wow.
And it kept getting into their helmets that they were wearing. And the sound and the noise from the fans and everything meant that they couldn't hear each other. So they had to put special, like actual intercoms in the helmets so they could talk to each other during that scene. And with that intercom of talking to each other, they, started making fun of each other, kind of like at the beginning of the movie. Remember that?
Yeah.
How they're making fun over the intercom? So I reckon that's probably where that scene came from.
Huh.
Probably like the art imitating life sort of thing.
And
Damon,
I appreciate the use of practical effects there.
Sure.
When creating the actual sandstorm. Aesthetically, it was very similar to Prometheus aesthetically, with a lot of especially when they were in the sandstorm, and it looked a lot like how when they were in the storm in Prometheus, when they're trying to get out of that cave thing and get back to the ship. The helmets all look the same. A lot of the interfaces were very similar.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was a weird kind of similarity. Let's talk about that religious thing that happened.
Yes.
Very briefly.
Well, he didn't do as I thought he would, like at some point shaking his fist at the Martian sky, going, "Curse you!" No, he was just kind of like, yeah, whatever.
There was a little of that. No, he yelled God a lot when he was banging up against the roof.
That was the only time, like after his nursery got blown up.
Yeah, that was...
But justifiably, he's like,
You felt that, though. Whenever he touched the plant and it was crushed in his hand, it was all frozen dead. You really felt that, just that sense of, no, that's the last thing I needed to happen.
Yeah.
Because he was doing good for himself, He had his poo plants going on. He had good potatoes,
Those were real, too. They actually made that nursery.
Oh, yeah. That's cool, man. It's just... but I thought it was in the book, he talks about how he needed supplies, and so he took I think his name is Hernandez. He took his cross and shaved it off a bit as a kind of
because he needed
whittling.
that special metal to burn. So so he did chop up and destroy a cross, but he did say to the cross, "I'm sure you'll understand." Good on you, Ridley Scott. Just keep it subtle. You don't need to beat us over the head with it.
That's some subtle atheism. I appreciate it, as opposed to 30-minute discussions about what God means to be a creator or whatever.
But I love that speech also where Matt Damon, when he's sort of driving off, he's like, they had that bit of a sort of montage where he's like, everywhere I go, I'm the first one there. Everything I do, I'm the first person to do it. And I thought that was really awesome. It really sort of captured the whole reason as to why people want to be astronauts, why people want to be explorers in the first place.
Yeah. I love whenever he digs up the decaying radioactive kind of core thing and sticks it to kind of make it his own personal heater.
Yeah.
and then when he's back in the thing, he says, "And after going through all of Lewis's music, I found the least annoying song," and he plays it. It's still disco, because that's a recurring joke in the book. He's like,
and
let's see what Lewis has. And it's just like disco. He's like, oh, jeez.
And I liked how in the end credits they had the "I Am Alive" song.
Yes.
As long as
that's a great choice.
Because it's like, yes, I'm back from outer space.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's really ironically appropriate.
Yeah.
It's like it was written for the movie, pretty much.
Or was the book written for the song?
Ooh.
Half-Life 3 confirmed.
Well, apparently also, they tried to, with the filming, they tried to schedule it so that the scenes where Matt Damon was with the other crews, like in the beginning was at the beginning of filming, and at the end was at the end. So all the bit in the middle where he's alone on the planet, it was just him, filming. So
right.
I don't know how much that really affected, because...
Well, I guess it kind of, because did you feel? I felt the emotion. Like I was in tears of joy. Like whenever he got back on the ship, on the Hermes ship, and just like, and he just started giving people hugs. I felt so like, yes, like, oh my, he did it. Like I was so excited whenever he got back on the ship, and then it just cuts to him being back home. I'm just like, finally. Yeah. Oh my God, he's been through so much.
I also found, though, it was like when he was leaving the base and when he was about to get in the ship and leave, and he's saying goodbye to the rover. Yeah. I kind of felt like he also had that emotion of like, this kind of had become his home in a way also. Yeah. Like he wants to get back to Earth,
been there for like,
but
what,
he
like
still
5
misses,
years?
He still feels that tear that he's going away from this place that he's lived on.
Yeah.
That was great. That was a really cool touch.
Yeah. And like, I think like he saved like himself like a special meal. He wrote on a Goodbye Mars, he wrote that as his final meal on Mars. And I liked they really did a good job of not making you bored of looking at the same thing over and over, because really for a good portion of the film it's inside of a have and rock, red brown rock. Yeah. But they do enough, like they do enough editing, and they interchange it well enough to where you feel like you're seeing new places of this, like you're seeing new versions of the same thing. Yeah. I was a big fan of that. But and it overall, looked,
But it looked, because like on Mars they say that there's like canyons and mountains. Like the smallest mountain is something like 4 times higher than Everest, and the biggest canyon is the smallest canyon is like 5 times bigger than the Grand Canyon. So I think they did a good job of showing that landscape too, that it's just this colossal structures of like just these rock everywhere. Yeah. Like I really felt that as well.
Yeah. And I was excited to see that they captured like I said at the start of our discussion, the feeling of dread and yet hope. Like you were just like this sucks, but let's look on the bright side of things. Of like, I love the film's message of it's not all bad, and I think that's might be the best way to put it. Of like, it's not all bad. Like granted, his crew left him on Mars, but hey, he's still alive. It's not all that bad. Yeah. Like he has to grow. He has to make more food to survive. But hey, he became the first botanist on Mars. It's not all that bad. He colonized Mars. Like hey, like he has to live next to a nuclear decaying core. But hey, it's not all that bad. He's got a heater. Like oh my God, the stick can only rotate certain degrees. But hey, it's not all that bad because now he's invented a new language. Like he's doing all these things of where you're like, it's not all that bad. And I love it. It's that message of, I think what Tomorrowland was trying to do with the whole positivity message. But I think it's what it did it right.
But it's also. Yeah, it's like the positivity message, but it's also the message of that so much of our existence, so much of our reality is from our perception. Yeah. That often we can seemingly change our reality by just changing our perception. Yeah. Like you said. Now he has to farm in poop. He could have focused on that, but he's like, but I'm the first botanist on Mars. Yeah. Greatest botanist on this planet.
Yeah. Now he's technically colonized Mars. Yeah. In your face, Neil Armstrong. And like,
he is the Martian.
Yes.
That's why he's called the Martian.
It's moments like those where he's just like, and it feels like it's a real guy going through this stuff on Mars, and that really does go back to Matt Damon's performance. Again, when he's swearing towards the president and how, he doesn't want people telling him how to make his own plans, and and even when he's all skinny and broken down, he's a space pirate, and when he decides to shave his beard and cut his hair up and get back in the game of things, and even when he's like, I broke my ribs are broken, but hey, I could be Iron Man. It's not all that bad, and this is the perfect movie to watch when you're in a bad mood, when you're sad, when you're upset at something. Yeah. I'd say sit down, either go see The Martian or plug in The Martian and really just watch a story of how no matter how bad things can get, you can find a positive light, and I think that's a necessary thing to have.
And I also think part of the message was that it's difficult to get depressed if you're keeping yourself busy.
Yes,
because like here, he like as soon as he found himself stranded, he had to focus on all these tasks, so he kind of didn't have time to get depressed. Apart from like the only times he got depressed were like after everything blows up and a bit sad, like a swell of emotion as he's about to leave the planet. But like because he kept himself busy,
which was a good scene whenever he's tearing up and he's just like, I'm coming. That was another tears of joy thing for me. I was just like, yes, he's making it.
But that actually reminded me of another true story, another survival type story. I think this was way back in, I can't remember when, but I don't even know the name of the guy, but he wrote a book about it. But he was in a shipwreck and he washed up on this island, and he had to live on the island for like a really long amount of time. He eventually someone found him. But I think this was back in old colonial days or whatever. But when he originally washed up on the island, he found a cave, so he had shelter. The water in the rivers was drinkable, and where he was, it was easy to catch fish. So he had food, he had shelter, he had basically everything he needed, and he had nothing to do but to sit around and just dwell on the fact that he was stranded, and he became extremely like depressed. Right. And then what happened was all these sea lions came in and migrated to the seashores and completely just took over the seashore. So he couldn't live there anymore. So he had to move deeper into the island center, where now he had to work to try to get shelter. He had to work to try to get his food. He had to work to get his water. And, he ended up sort of living with lemurs, kind of like in Life of Pi, which sort of gave him a sense of companionship. But because and it was a complete turnaround, because now he had to work at everything. So keeping himself busy, he didn't have time to get depressed. And later on, after he got home, he looked back at that period of his life as the time when he was most happy. And this movie kind of reminded me of that, because Matt Damon, if he just had like a big supply of food and he just had to sit there and wait for them to come, he probably would have got depressed. Mm-hmm. But keeping himself busy and stuff to do. I mean, I think Matt Damon's character, even if he did have enough food, he still would have been out exploring, doing the science stuff. He would have been keeping himself busy no matter what. Yeah, like even if he had food and water, he would have tried to figure out a way to make water himself. He would have been like, you know what? I'll make my own water, and and he would have tried to make his own water probably. And I think that's a good way. I gotta check that out. Go check out that story. I think that's a fundamental truth. Like, a lot of depression, apart from clinical depression, obviously. But a lot of depression comes just because we're bored. Like people in third world countries, they don't have depression. It's only people in first world countries who have the time to sit around and because their phone won't charge. Again, my clinical depression. That's a whole different story. I'm not saying to people who are clinically depressed, hey, you're just not busy, go out and do something. No, that's a whole different thing. No, I'm talking about within the context of like The Martian. So just clarifying, I don't want to offend anyone. Oh, don't worry, we've already offended somebody. It's the internet. It's what would you give it out of 10 if you want to, so we can cap off this discussion here? What would you give it out of 10, Bandit? Well, I want to say like a 9 out of 10, but given the positivity of this movie, I think I should approach it from a different way and say, let's start from a 10 and think of reasons why it should maybe get any less than that. And my God. I can't really think of any reasons. Like, I can't think of much they could have done better, apart from maybe fleshing out some of the crew a bit more, or the annoying scientist guy that you don't like. What's his name? Donald Glover. Yeah. So let's say 9.5 for those, but otherwise, Well, I'll tell you what. Despite my issues with it, I gave it a 9.75. Wow. Out of 10. It power of positivity. Issues. It's a new day. Saying. Yes, it is. Yes. Clap when we trade. Yeah. Don't you dare be sour. Shout out to the WWE fans who get that. Reminds me of my church. Yeah, it's exactly how it is in the movies. No, there's a wrestling team called The New Day, and that's the theme music.
Oh.
It's kind of like this choir sort of thing. It's pretty funny actually. Wow. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. Yeah.
No, but like it's such a, it makes you like, the moment the movie ended, my first thought was, I want to watch that again. Like, it puts you in such a good mood. Like I left the theater going, you know what? I can do what I want to do. I can get my homework done. I'm gonna be okay. Things are gonna get better. It really put me in a good mood in which it makes you want to go out and just, in the same way like a Mission Impossible makes you want to go out and like punch somebody and just be like action hero awesomeness. Yeah. Like this movie makes you want to go out and just change the world in a way that I think Tomorrowland was trying to do, and this one kind of almost unintentionally did it. And I thought that's what made this movie so great, was its overall message and how it really weaved itself into the characters and the storytelling. But yeah, 9.75 out of 10. I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excuse me. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
So, we have some listener questions. This is where you respond to Bandit's either tweet or Facebook post, both at Bandit Incorporated.
I don't think I did a good job of explaining this one, though.
Nah, it's okay.
Because the way I put it, I think people thought I meant questions about the Martian. But I really just meant questions about anything. I'll clarify that a bit better next time.
That's okay. That's all right, Bandit. We all make mistakes.
First, I just thought...
Yes.
We mentioned our reviews, the review that we got on iTunes. There was actually someone posted.
I'm gonna pull that up right now.
Did we talk about that on air or off air? I can't remember.
The review?
Yeah. Did we mention
We talked about that right before we started recording.
Oh, that was before we recorded. Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you to the person who reviewed us on iTunes and said.
Yes, ASP456 is his name. He called us fun and chill, stating this is a chill podcast to listen to, and that they love how they reference other YouTubers and podcasts, and that while they don't agree with everything we say, they still have to stick around. Well, you either have to agree. If you're not with me, then you're my enemy. So you really did. No, you can't have a different opinion than me.
When it comes to Terminator Genesis.
Well, guys, this is the Movie Mania podcast.
I just keep going back to it.
Could you imagine that's what kills the podcast? Terminator Genesis.
But also there was, in terms of reviews and that, someone on my channel actually left a comment saying, hey, I've been listening to your podcast, really enjoy it. It's kind of like the Poor Man's Weekly Planet podcast.
Wow. Thanks. Glad to know we are the Gary Busey to Nick Nolte. Wow,
yes, we're the
fantastic. Wow.
We're the less funny version of Weekly Planet, and we know less about comic books.
we're the Greg Kinnear to the Tom Hanks. That's all right. I'll take it.
I would rather be the poor man's Weekly Planet than the rich man's anything else. There you go.
So. Well, yes. Yes, that is entirely true. At least we're being compared to Weekly Planet. That means that they might know who we are.
That's all right. People have compared me to Mr. Sunday ever since I started on YouTube.
Yes, and people have called me stupid and irrelevant. Yes.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
That's
check your advice for the DC Cinematic Universe video. That is the worst hate. No, the worst hate I got was on my Walking Dead review. Okay, so let's get to some listener questions, shall we?
You should look at the comments for the video from Nalbus. Because, he's an Aussie, but he has the weirdest voice ever. And,
I have to check
I mentioned it when I was introducing the video, because I was like, I know everyone's going to say this. And the poor guy.
Yeah.
I'll imitate his voice. He sounds like this. Oi, how you doing? This is Nalbus. That's actually how he talks in real life.
Sounds like Barney from Barney and Friends, the pink dinosaur.
Somebody said,
which isn't a problem. I mean, everyone has their own different kind of voice, but
people like. I just think it sounds like Kermit the Frog with huge balls.
Hey,
poor Dalvis. I feel for him. Hey. Anyway, listener questions. All right, let's see what we got.
All right, view questions. Okay, on your Facebook page, Keats Goodwin asks, before they announced the actor Chadwick Boseman for the part of Black Panther, I was hoping Chiwetel Ejiofor, who's in The Martian, would land the part. Who would you choose for of the two actors?
Yeah, I saw that. I was trying to think. I mean, I'm totally happy with him. I don't know, who else would you want if not him?
Well, I mean, the question asked between the two actors. If I had to choose,
is it? Okay, I thought it was someone else other than him.
If I had to choose before Force Awakens, I probably would have gone John Boyega, or Michael B. Jordan, just because it's nice to have black people in the mainstream who and actually have them have their own movie. But I think Chadwick Boseman. I don't know if you've seen 42, the Jackie Robinson one with Harrison Ford, and it's a great movie. I think he's also great in Get On Up, the Jackie Brown story. Or not Jackie Brown, excuse me, James Brown. Jackie Brown's a Quentin Tarantino movie. The James Brown movie. I think Chadwick Boseman's a great actor. I think he's going to bring it. He's going to bring it to Black Panther, and I'm not sure I would change it really. I think it's a great choice.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic.
I wasn't expecting it either. Yeah,
and I'm looking forward to seeing Black Panther. I think Black Panther is probably. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to all these upcoming new characters. Black Panther. Yeah. Doctor Strange, they're all new guys. I love that. But yeah, like you said, great to see, a black person in Marvel, because most of it's muscular.
Diversity is important. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because God knows we haven't seen enough white people in movies. So I mean, that just needs to. Okay. Daniel Hernandez asked.
Wow. Okay.
Avoid. It's late.
I got here.
Yeah.
Does Raptor Rex 2917 on Twitter says, does this, meaning The Martian, raise your hopes for Alien Paradise Lost?
No. No, because I don't know who's writing the movie yet.
It's the same writers who wrote Green Lantern and Transcendence.
Oh, that's right. No, I know it doesn't raise my hope at all.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah. No. Gee,
it's gonna look cool. Numi Rapace is gonna be great, and Michael Fassbender is gonna be great, and it's gonna look cool, but it's not gonna. The Martian, I think, is such. It's like it's such an anomaly. I think in this point in Ridley Scott's career, this might be the last great movie he ever does. It's coming from a guy who actually enjoyed Prometheus, but The Martian might be the last great movie he does in his lifetime.
Could be.
Which is sad to hear.
I think, it doesn't give me hope for Alien Paradise Lost either, because, as we discussed just before, The Martian, as well as Ridley Scott's other movies, are good because they have good scripts or they're based off a book, like The Martian.
Yeah.
Considering in the news alone and what Ridley Scott's been saying, how much they've been flip-flopping and going back and forth about this movie, it doesn't look like it's well written.
They don't know what it is. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't know what they want this movie to be, and that's a problem.
So I think we'll just get the same kind of nonsense we got last time.
Yeah, but I hope maybe they'll go more horror with it. Hopefully. Okay, all right. Daniel Hernandez asks on Facebook. He asks, in your opinion, what are the elements of a good script?
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a
Do you have an answer?
Question.
Yeah. I think I got something. A good script for me is something that flows the movie together, but also has great dialogue. If that makes any sense, it's something that can. It's what holds the movie together. It's the glue that makes the movie work. It's the perfect balance of good character, a good pace, and good dialogue. Because even if a movie has a good pace and good dialogue, if the story and the plot hurts it, like Prometheus, then it can sink a whole movie. But if the movie has a good pace and a good storyline to it, and if the dialogue sucks, then it's Transformers 4.
Yeah.
But if you can have an amalgam of all three, then you get a Guardians of the Galaxy or a Martian, where it all flows together really well.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Also, though, I'd say, I think also, I'm trying to find the words, a heart to the script, a core premise, a core theme.
Yeah.
Some movies, they sort of change what they're about halfway through. That's terrible. But if you know what your script is about, if you've got that core, that heart, that solid foundation there,
yes,
in many aspects, the other stuff kind of just fall into place.
Yeah.
So I think that's really the most important thing, and I think that's one of the one of the things that this constant rewrite process of Hollywood often undermines.
Yes.
Because, you know, by the time you get to your third or fourth scriptwriter who's rewriting it, might have a totally different idea than the original guy. So you don't have like a core theme. And again, we keep going back to Prometheus. Like, I think that was a problem with Prometheus. There was about too many different things at once.
Yeah. I think an important thing is really, and I think this is something that Hollywood really needs to understand, is that good characters can take you a long way in a movie.
Yeah.
I think the reason a movie like Frozen or Big Hero 6 doesn't work, and a reason a movie like an Inside Out does, is because you take your core characters and you develop them and you put them in the world around you. You have these developed characters that you've grown to care about, and now you have this world, and you're allowing them to just, and it really brings you into the world a lot more than just having flashy visuals or good songs. I think that might be my biggest problem with those movies, like the most recent Disney animated movies, are that they don't have good characters. They're just cool looking movies with some decent action in them, and that really, I think, have you seen Wreck-It Ralph? It's a Disney movie about video games, and I think that's what makes Wreck-It Ralph so enthralling, is that you really care about the two main characters, and they have a compelling villain. They have that message of hey, you're a bad guy, but that's okay. You know, just do what you do and do what makes you. You know, and I love that. That's what's important.
I agree. I like that movie. Actually, that was quite good. Yeah.
and that's because we care about those characters, and because we care about the characters, you're able to get them enthralled in this world, and therefore you can still show off your cool visuals in your world, but you have people that you care about inside of them, if that makes any sense. I think that's what Jurassic World might have also been missing. I don't like Jurassic World. I think that might be because we don't have the characters like an Ian Malcolm or an Alan Grant to care about. You know, that's what that movie was missing.
Totally.
Right.
Well, I got a question here on Twitter from Ricky Carrillo, who's asking,
all right,
when are you asking more questions? Because I'd love to get my questions answered on the show. Well, Ricky.
Really? All right. Okay, Ricky. Well, tell you what.
Well, you know, he missed out on asking a question, so I thought if I answer this one, that way he's still getting his question answered. But yeah, we're going to do it like each. We usually do it like either the night before or a couple of hours before, or just when we start recording.
One time it was like 10 minutes before we hit record. We posted it on the site, and that was like episode 1 when we were just like, hey, doing this podcast, want to ask some questions? No, but I mean, just look out for the Twitter and the Facebook posts, and just be ready to ask away. Make your question compelling, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
sure. But
go ahead. I'm sorry.
But also, like, if we're doing it a couple of hours before the show, that would be, I'm assuming he's in America. What time of day would it be over there? Like in the after?
Probably like 2 to 4 o'clock, around that area.
Sure. All right. So
mid-afternoon.
Sunday afternoon in America is usually, which is Monday morning.
And also make sure your question stands out, because you know if you're the fourth guy asking me a Star Wars question, you know I can't just put Star Wars questions in the. I like to brand them out a bit more. But
we don't really get that many questions. We can cover most people at the moment.
They don't know that.
Well, we've got about 350 downloads, which is good.
Yes.
Which is good. But you know, out of that, there's enough we can get to people's
I
questions.
Yes.
We'll try to get to downloads.
I'm not trying. Look, I just don't want 4 questions about who Kylo Ren is in the same post, because I don't know how many times I can answer that he's going to be Han Solo's kid. But that's beyond the point.
But yes, Ricky Carrillo, if you want, you can email your question for the next one for me to BanditIncorporated@gmail.com, and I will specially answer it for you.
Okay. I didn't realize we were doing emails now. Okay.
Well, no, but I mean, it's on my channel. Anyone can email me there if they want to. But
I'm just teasing. Okay, next question.
Yep.
Okay, Jordan Oislin Dylan McMahon. Okay, asks, are people too harsh on Age of Ultron? I don't think so.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting to see the progression of that, because remember when it came out, it was all like, "Wow, this is great," but then as the hype's worn off a little bit, people kind of were like. Yeah, it kind of was like in the
I saw a lot of
honest
instant
trailer
reaction of people going, people going like I know some reviewers like the Schmoes know, like a couple of them weren't into it because they felt like I know like John Schnepp, who did the Death Superman Loves What Happened, he wasn't as into it as much as other people were. So there was kind of an instant reaction of meh, and I don't and that Honest trailer really did not help.
But I did notice, like, if like I'm not just tooting my own horn here, people could go back and look on my channel, is like when the trailers came out, I did actually say a bit like I'm a little bit worried because when they showed the whole Scarlet Witch mind control, I was like, haven't we already done that? And all the army attacking at the end, that's like Loki and like with his army, haven't we already done that? So I was worried that it was repeating too many of the same beats. And it has, and that's part of the reason why I'm glad that Josh Whedon is not around anymore and that they're getting new directors who can, introduce new stuff.
Internet,
Josh Whedon was great to get it started, but I don't think he should do everything.
Yeah. And yes, Internet, we are aware the Bandit says Josh instead of Joss. We're going to move on from that. Yes, I've read the comments. I think I loved Age of Ultron. It's probably my second favorite Marvel film. Just because it did so much, it had the job of being an Avengers sequel, a follow up to all the other Marvel films, and a setup for future Marvel films. And I feel like it didn't collapse under its own weight at all. Yeah, the Thor scene, whatever. The Thor scene sucks. Okay, great. That's 2 minutes out of a 2.5-hour movie. Too bad. And I feel like this movie did so much, and it balanced so much, and it did a lot of the same beats that first movie did, but I feel like it did it on a much bigger scale, and it did it with more compelling characters. And I was a big fan of how they did that. So are people too harsh? I don't think so.
I don't think people are too harsh. I think it's just valid criticism, and
I think people
Marvel
had their expectations too high.
Yeah, that's true. Super high expectations. But Marvel has shown that, they welcome feedback from their fans. They listen.
They listen.
And
but I don't know. I'm worried that Marvel, that Age of Ultron, because Joss Whedon wanted to make a movie that he wanted to make, and Marvel kind of didn't let him, which very much led to the destruction of Joss Whedon. And in many ways, I think we've broken Joss Whedon, which sucks because I think he'd be the perfect director for Captain Marvel. I think he'd be the best Captain Marvel director.
He'd be good for that. Yeah.
But I don't think he'll ever come do another Marvel film because of how Age of Ultron kind of broke him and how they've treated him over the years. Apparently he didn't earn a lot of money for the first Avengers, and even though they knew it was going to be the biggest movie ever, so they kind of David Prowsed him. But whatever.
But I mean, also Marvel said that they're not happy with the way Age of Ultron came out. But I mean, I think you have to bear in mind that you remember that a few weeks before that came out, they released their entire DC lineup. Infinity Wars, Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, all this stuff. So by the time Age of Ultron comes out, people weren't thinking about that. People were thinking, gee, I wonder what Infinity Wars is going to be like.
People at that point were wondering, is Ant-Man going to be a thing? People had their mind on so many different things that by the time Avengers came out, which was meant to be this kind of big event film, and when it turned out just to be good, not great for some people, that's shockingly a disappointment. That's shockingly because it's an 8 and not a 10. That it's negative feedback, which I'm not. I know. So people aren't being too harsh because.
But showing the whole lineup like that made Age of Ultron look like it was just a placeholder.
Yeah.
And that's why
sense.
People weren't able to get on board. So I think that's on Marvel. They should not have done that. And also, remember when Avengers came out, there was no other movies playing. At the time Age of Ultron came out, there was there was Mad Max came out a week after.
Yeah.
There was Jurassic World just before it. So I mean, of course it's not going to do.
I remember the other big movie of that summer when the Avengers was Dark Knight Rises. So I mean, I remember that. That was a big thing back then. I remember it was like Avengers versus Dark Knight Rises. I remember that. That was a thing. And one's clearly better than the other.
So no, I don't think people are too harsh on Age of Ultron. I think there's a lot of valid criticism there, and I'm sure Marvel will take it.
Yeah.
Okay. But I'm actually kind of not on Joss Whedon's side with what he did there, because I think his desire to tell his story and ignore everything else in the Marvel Universe really derailed a lot of the stuff that Winter Soldier set up to lead into Civil War. So I think he might have actually ruined Civil War by some of the choices he made.
I think the Avengers movies kind of stand in their... They feel very different from any other Marvel movie, if that makes any sense. Like, the Avengers and Age of Ultron very much have their own distinct styles to them. And I feel like if you told me that Thor: The Dark World and Winter Soldier takes place in the same universe, I'd be like, oh yeah, I can definitely see that. But if you told me that like a movie like Avengers and Thor: Dark World takes place in the universe, I'm like, I don't know. Just because those movies are so distinctively Joss Whedon that, you know, I don't know. I'm a fan of what those movies did. I'm excited to see what the Russo brothers are going to do for Civil War, even though I'm not the world's biggest Winter Soldier fan. Sorry, someone just put a red dot on my forehead. I'm not the world's biggest Winter Soldier fan. Look, it's not a badly movie. It's just not in my taste. But
hey, a guy with a robotic arm is perched on the roof with a sniper rifle across the road.
I thought I saw that. You just see that. Is that a shield? Oh God! And he's gonna go flying through my window.
Sure. Well, I think that's all the Twitter questions I got here. I'll refresh the page, see if there's any more.
I've got one more if you can find it.
Yeah, let's do one more, and we'll bank any leftovers. So.
Matt Duke at Arkham R Us ask, quick cues: is The Martian better or on par with Interstellar?
It's better.
I'm thinking about it because Interstellar brought me to such an emotional level. I don't think I've cried harder in a movie than when I cried during Interstellar.
Yeah. Actually, to be fair,
I want to get in there.
I mean, apart from the fact that they're both sci-fi space travel, they're really very different movies.
Yeah, but you can still compare them character-wise and plot-wise and direction-wise. Like the same, like you can say Dark Knight and Avengers. I think those you can compare an apple to an orange because they're both things that you can eat. You know what I'm saying? Like you can compare how they taste, how they feel, and whatnot. So.
I would say, like in my opinion, I'd say it has to be The Martian because I think the characters were more likable. The situation they were in, even though the stakes were not as high as Interstellar, they felt more important somehow. I just think emotionally you're a lot more invested in The Martian than you do in, Christopher Nolan's weird robot vision of the future.
I see. I think
I did like Interstellar.
Yeah. I love the movie. I think the linchpin of Interstellar is the relationship between McConaughey and his daughter, and I think if you're not into that, if you're not into the whole love thing, then that can
Murph. Don't we leave, Murph?
Bandit, you'll have to excuse me. My door just closed randomly. I think it's the air conditioned pressure, but that just
oh, okay.
my heart sank. You
thought it was Matthew McConaughey in another dimension sending gravity to you.
My first thought was, what are you trying to tell me? Yeah. But there's a Vine about that of where a book falls over and the guy's just like, what are you trying to say?
So do you actually think Interstellar was kind of a bit better?
I think Interstellar brought me to a more emotional level than The Martian did, but I felt better after watching The Martian.
Yeah.
I think The Martian's a better made movie, but I think I respect how ambitious Interstellar is. So I give Interstellar the higher point because I felt like Nolan was really trying to do his 2001: A Space Odyssey, and in many ways he succeeded with it. With this telling of the story.
Yeah, actually, I don't care how you're right about that. In terms of pure sci-fi, Interstellar's way more ambitious than The Martian.
Yeah,
and even though The Martian had a good message, Interstellar had those grand sort of sci-fi type of questions. Again, like Prometheus was trying to answer.
Yeah. and like Terminator Genesis wasn't trying to do, which is...
And it seems like... ignoring that, it seems like also with Interstellar, you can continue to have that dialogue with your friends about, but how did they send the message back from the future, and how did this happen? There was enough in that world that you can keep thinking about. But with The Martian, it's you're like, oh, this bit was great, that bit was great, but you're not going to have that dialogue with your friends where you can sort of try to decode it like you can with Interstellar. No. So yeah, I'd say The Martian is more enjoyable, but Interstellar's you respect it more because it's more ambitious.
I think how I put this, The Martian is the better movie, but I think Interstellar was the better crafted movie.
Yes.
I think, and just in how things are presented. Yeah. So I think that if that answers your question, Matt, I'm happy we were able to answer it.
So to answer your question, neither of them is better. We're taking the coward's way, and we're not picking one.
Okay, well, I think that finishes our discussion today on The Martian, and
Indeed it does.
Yes, so thank you all for watching. Bandit, where can people find you?
Well, hang on. First, I want to ask you.
I forget every gosh darn week.
What do you want to do for next week's episodes? Cause
I've been thinking about that all week. I have no idea.
Because like there are movies, like there's 2 movies coming out between now and when we record next, which is Pan and Steve Jobs.
Is Steve Jobs out next week? I thought it was out the 23rd.
It's out here next week. It might not be in America.
Lucky sons of guns. I think we don't get it to the 23rd. I'm so looking forward to that movie. Oh man, let me see.
So I mean, I don't know. We could. So I guess we could talk about Pan next week, or
no,
we could,
I'm not seeing.
I don't want to see it either.
I'm putting my foot down.
So we could just pick like a movie franchise and talk about that, because like when we get closer to Spectre, we can talk more about James Bond and stuff.
Oh, do you want to do like the Craig Bond films? Speaking of Diet Weekly Planet,
you don't want to wait till Spectre comes a bit closer, or?
Well, because it at this point it'll be out. It'll be out in like 3-4 weeks, like a month here, and at least in the States. It comes out November 6th here in the States. I think it comes out maybe a week earlier in Australia, doesn't it? So
I don't think so, but yeah, okay. All right, yeah, let's just do a James Bond episode.
Well, I mean, like, actually, we can break it up into different,
Because I don't want to totally rip off Weekly Planet.
Yes.
I thought maybe what we can do is you can watch You Only Live Twice, because that's what I consider, at least, the best Sean Connery James Bond. And
really?
You can talk about that next week, and I'll talk about the Lazenby Bond of Her Majesty's Secret Service, because there's actually a lot of parallels between that and Casino Royale and You Only Live Twice and Spectre.
Huh.
So, we can review those 2 older movies kind of connects to the Craig ones. You want to do that?
I gotta watch the weird Asian racist James Bond movie again.
Oh, you'll get to see Sean Connery getting plastic surgery to look Japanese.
That is not going to be easy to sit through, but I'll do it. I'll do it. That's not going to be easy. I'll do it. We can, you know what? That works. We can do that.
All right, cool. So we're talking old school James Bond. So, and that's good.
Next week.
Yeah, those 2 leak into the new Craig ones. All right.
But I would also like to talk the newer Bond films if we could ever get to them. And I can't wait to do Spectre. So,
And in the meantime, if one of us maybe wants to see Pan, I guess we could sum it up quickly. But
or maybe ask,
or not.
Like we can ask. Yeah, just shut down that idea. Or we can ask our audience, what do you guys want to see? We are doing this
we'll
for you guys
do the James
to
Bond one for next week.
Okay. All right.
But we will do that for a future episode. When we run into these roadblocks where there's no movies, we'll just have the listeners assign us movies to talk about.
Yeah. Okay, we can do that. All right. So
okay.
I guess that means, thank you guys all for watching. This has been a wonderful podcast. Lovely talking the Martian with you guys, your wonderful audience.
The Martian.
The Pad. Where can people find you?
They can find me on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter as Bandit Incorporated. And they can find you.
They can find me on YouTube and Twitter and Instagram, all at Podcast Media. Hopefully Skype caught that. Okay, so catch you all later, and thanks for watching our Movie Maniacs.
Bye-bye.